used to comment on everything, your workouts, your meals, your progress. Then somewhere around the time you started actually getting strong, visibly strong, he went quiet. Not angry, not supportive either, just quiet. If you felt that shift and couldn't quite name it, this video is going to explain exactly what's happening underneath that silence. It's not random, and it's not really about you. There are 5 specific psychological shifts that happen inside a relationship when a woman becomes the stronger one physically. And I'm walking you through all 5 in order. So stay till the end, because the 5th one is the one that determines whether that relationship grows with you or gets left behind. Now, step 1, his silence is a status signal, not an accident. In most heterosexual relationships, physical strength has historically been coded as a male-associated trait, even if neither person consciously thinks of it that way. When a woman becomes visibly stronger than she used to be, stronger than him, in some cases, it can quietly disrupt a status dynamic he didn't even know he was relying on. Silence in this context is often a subconscious response to that disruption, not indifference. This isn't him being a bad partner by default. It's a documented pattern in relationship psychology. When a long-standing role shifts, the person who benefited from the old dynamic often goes quiet before they consciously process what's changed, simply because they don't yet have language for what they're feeling. Naming this pattern out loud, calmly, is often the first step to breaking the silence instead of just absorbing it. Understanding that his quiet isn't really about your body helps take the sting out of it. But underneath that silence, something more specific is often happening. Something that has almost nothing to do with how you look and everything to do with what your strength represents. 2. Your strength is quietly challenging his sense of usefulness. For a lot of men, especially those raised with more traditional ideas about protection and provision, physical strength has been tied to a sense of purpose, being the one who carries things, who feels needed in a physical way. When you no longer need that from him in the same way, it can unintentionally touch a nerve around usefulness that he's never had to examine before. This isn't about him being fragile. It's about an identity that was built on being needed in a specific way, suddenly needing to expand. The men who navigate this well find new ways to be useful and present that aren't tied to lifting the heavy box. Emotional steadiness, partnership, showing up in other concrete ways. The men who don't navigate it well often go quiet instead of adapting, because adapting requires admitting something shifted. This touches his sense of purpose, but it also touches something even more personal, something tied directly to how he was raised to see masculinity in the first place. Number 3, he may be quietly recalculating what masculinity means to him. Cultural messaging about masculinity has, for generations, linked being physically capable with being a man. When a woman in his life becomes visibly strong, sometimes stronger than him, it can force an unconscious recalculation of what masculinity actually means if it's not defined by comparative physical dominance. That recalculation takes real time, and going quiet is often what that internal processing looks like from the outside. This is exactly why some men respond with subtle jokes, unsolicited corrections about form, or a sudden interest in getting back to the gym themselves. These are all different expressions of the same underlying recalibration. None of these responses are really about you. They're about him working through what strength means to him now that it's no longer something he can assume he has by default. This recalculation is deeply personal to him, but it doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's also shaped by how the people around both of you are reacting, which brings in a layer most couples never even discuss out loud. 4. Outside reactions are adding pressure he hasn't told you about. Other people notice when a woman gets visibly strong, and they often say something, a comment at a family gathering, a joke from a friend, an offhand remark from a coworker. These comments, even the well-meaning ones, can put subtle pressure on him to have some kind of reaction, even if his actual feelings are more complicated or genuinely proud. Social psychology research on relationship dynamics consistently shows that outside commentary shapes internal relationship narratives more than couples realize. If he's absorbing comments like, "She's stronger than you now, huh?" as jokes with an edge, That pressure can build into exactly the kind of quiet withdrawal you're noticing, even if he'd never bring up the comment itself. This is worth asking about directly, because most men won't volunteer that a comment from someone else got under their skin. Outside pressure adds a layer most couples never talk about openly, but there's one more piece underneath all of this, and it's the one that actually determines what happens next in the relationship. 5. His silence is a fork in the road, not the end of the story. Here's what matters most. How a man responds to a woman's growing strength over time is one of the clearest windows into how secure he actually is, and every relationship reaches some version of this fork. Some men move through the initial quiet and come out the other side more confident in themselves and genuinely proud of their partner. Others stay stuck in that silence, and it slowly turns into resentment, subtle undermining, or emotional distance that never gets named directly. The difference usually isn't really about the strength itself. It's about whether he's willing to do the internal work of redefining his own identity alongside your growth, instead of quietly resenting it. A conversation that names what's happening, without accusation, is often the exact thing that moves a relationship from stuck to actually moving forward together. This is why the fifth thing matters more than the rest combined, because everything before it explains the silence. But this is the piece that determines whether the relationship actually grows from here or quietly stalls out. So be honest, which of these 5 explains what's actually happening in your relationship right now? His silence isn't a verdict on you, and it isn't something you need to shrink yourself to fix. It's information about where he is internally, and information you're allowed to ask about directly. A calm, honest conversation about what you've noticed does more good than months of silently wondering. The strongest relationships aren't the ones where nothing ever shifts. They're the ones where both people are willing to grow into the shift together. If this gave you language for something you've been feeling, subscribe for more honest breakdowns of what's really happening beneath the surface. And I'll see you in the next one.